Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lyoko, and welcome to Final Six.
Stands up, looks at my fellow competitors. You know what? I'm making a move, Chris. It might not be a Final Five move, but I think I'm gonna sit down and not use it. If I go home, so be it.
Person voted out of Minecraft Survivor Arena, and the fourth member of the jury. All ranks. Time to bring me your torch.
No, you're not the only one that got one of these blood diamond thingamabobs. Everyone knows how it works. Sure to explain it. So here you go, Jaden. I'm giving it to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I hope you
back, but not in the way that you think. Bayback for you.
Yes.
Here you go.
Thank you.
While there have been thousands of hundreds of votes cast through the many tribal councils, only a handful of those votes have been clever enough to see the polarity vote to seize the day with 6 votes up in the air. So let's talk about the incredible 3-2-1 vote split in the history of these fan-made Survivor games. This is based off the Peridian video that he did on the 3-2-1 vote, talking about the history of it in the US Survivor Series. This is going to be a 2-part series. One talking about the Survivor MC world, and the other talking about the College Survivor Series. This one is keeping on trend with being about the MC Survivor Series. But in this video, I won't just be talking about Chris's Minecraft Survivor Series. I'll also be talking about Kyle's series as well. Spread the love a bit. So, with that being said, let's get started with the history of the vote. 3, 2, 1, go.
Just let me pursue. I'm the magic. Let me give a little take a moment.
The first indication of a 3-2-1 split was actually in the first season Survivor Sherwood at the Final Six. Jack was the lone alien member on a tribe with Poppy majority and was the obvious target. However, it looked like things weren't going to be as easy as it seems. Andrea, who Jack was targeting, had something else in mind. She knew that Dizzy was not someone to be trusted and had a plan to go after him instead of Jack. Kyle was in the deciding position on whether he would stick with the easy vote in going after Jack, turn on his ally Andrea, or stick with her to vote for Dizzy. At the end, Kyle chose to stick with Andrea and Nathan to vote Dizzy. Dizzy, wanting to stick with Jack, thinking he was still going home, went with his plan to vote off Andrea, and John was not involved with either plan. He thought it was still going to be a Poppy strong vote and voted Jack. This is the vote I talked about in my biggest mistakes videos made by winners being Andrea's, but if it wasn't for this mistake, we wouldn't have a vote to talk about. The next 3-2-1 vote was 3 seasons later at the final 10 of Halong, when the Extroverts tribe went to their second tribal council before the merge. At this tribal, Foration was on the outs after being on the wrong side of numbers in their last tribal, as well as immediately getting into a 1-on-1 call at the beginning of the game. However, something else was afoot. At trying to make people target Ozzy, Hope and Bayback were having a talk where Hope mentioned her willingness to vote Ozzy, which made Bayback nervous and he believed she would actually go through with it. It got to a point where Bayback took it upon himself to call her out, and yes, this is the call-out tribe that I have referenced before. What happened after that was just a whole bunch of confusion and accusations, with people having to make tough decisions. Do people still go with the Foration plan, or do they now target Hope? At the end of the vote, it seemed that Foration jumped on with Bayback in voting for Hope. Hope decided to put her vote on Bayback out of spite. However, A-Dog, Ozzy, and X-Inc decided to stick with the OG safe plan and vote out Foration. The obvious person may have went home, but an obvious tribal it was not. But the craziness didn't stop there, because the next time we see a 3-2-1 vote was only a few tribals later in the same season at the Final Six. In this situation, it was a classic 3-3 split between old tribal lines. It was the old Introverts tribe, Sinwar, Andre, and the other one, versus the old Extroverts tribe, Bayback, Hope, and A-Dog. Now, in this tribal, the Extroverts had an idol, so they knew they had to vote together, and decided on Andre, being someone that they never talked with and Sinwar had immunity. However, for the old Introverts, they didn't know whether to go after Hope or Bayback. So they came up with a code word that they'll say before voting to indicate whether to vote Hope or to vote Bayback. When it came to tribal, the code word to vote Bayback was said,
Banana.
but things got lost in translation. Bayback played his idol for A-Dog, he got no votes, and the Extroverts stuck with their plan to vote Andre. But on the introvert side, while Sinwar and Andre stuck with the plan to vote Bayback, the other lad got confused and voted Hope, causing a 3-2-1 and Andre leaving. Note to self people, make sure you know what your code words mean when you make them. We see this vote happen again in the next season, Survivor Kootenai, at the final 11, when the Swap Kiayo tribe went to tribal right before the merge. It was a 4-2 majority with the 4 original brains, JT, Chief, Joey, and Cobalt, outnumbering the 2 OG Brawn, Duke and Peter. And they were planning on trying to split the votes between the two in case of an idol play. While Duke was trying to get someone to flip over to their side, Peter knew it was either him or Duke going. So once it came down to the votes, Duke tried to go with his plan to vote off JT, but the brains stuck with their original split vote plan, and Peter made sure it wasn't him leaving, with him also voting Duke along with Chief and JT. It was either him or Duke leaving, and he just made sure he would be there to see the merge. The last time we saw a 3-1 vote in Chris's series is not until Survivor Caribbean at the 4th Tribal Council. Joseph was on the outs of the tribe thanks to Cork Hager holding everybody hostage at the 1st Tribal Council to make it easier to exclude somebody and vote them off. And that exclusive person was Joseph. While that plan did backfire on Cork, it still left Joseph on the outs with his tribe, to the point where it came to their 3rd loss. Joseph was the easy target to go after, but the majority still wanted to be safe and decided to split their votes. And that person they needed to split their votes on was Knife, since he was the other low man on the totem pole other than Joseph. While Joseph did try to make something happen with Knife and Jay to make a 3-2-1 to target Garrett, when it came down to the votes, Knife and Jay played it safe and stuck with their vote on Joseph along with Garrett, while Tim and Liz stuck with voting on Knife. But while that was all the 3-2-1 votes in Chris's Survivor series, that's not the only Survivor series I'm talking about. There's also some in Kyle's Minecraft Survivor seasons. However, unlike Chris's, the first 3-2-1 vote in Kyle's series wasn't until Season 8, Zhangjiaji. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. At the final 6 Tribal Council, where the last 2 Yulu members, Deku and Sean, were up against the 4 majority of Red, Lemon, Tommy, and Pepe. The trouble for the majority was Deku won individual immunity and Sean had a public immunity idol around his neck. So that spelled trouble for the majority 4. Some of them decided to risk it and put their votes on Sean and tried to convince him to not play his idol. But as a backup, Red wanted to throw votes on Pepe just in case of an idol play, since Pepe wasn't an OG GoFam member. It came to tribal time and the votes were red. Sean did not play his idol, which was his downfall, considering Tommy didn't go with the split idea and put his vote on Sean along with Pepe and Lemon, while Sean and Deku put their votes on Red, and Red, thinking that they were going to split, put his vote on Pepe. This just shows, when in doubt, play your idol. Stop trying to hold on to it till Final 5. The final 3-2-1 vote I'm going to talk about is in Kyle's most recent season, Survivor From the Ashes. This was at the final 14 at the first Swap Tribal Council, where the majority of Bayback, Venom, Tim, and Coco held the numbers over the minority of Punjabi and Danny. Now this season was published different than the other Survivor seasons that we're used to, so I don't know much information on the strats and reasoning behind this vote. But if I were to assume, the majority were going to split their votes between Punjabi and Danny, but somebody would rather see Danny go than Punjabi. They switched their vote to make sure that Danny would be the one that goes home. When it came to the votes, Punjabi played his idol and played one vote for himself, but sadly he played it wrong and Danny got the most votes, with Tim, Coco, and Venom voting for Danny. Bayback's vote was on Punjabi, which got cancelled, and Punjabi and Danny voted for Bayback. My god, Bayback, this is his 3rd 3-2-1 vote, and he somehow did not get voted off. Come on, mate. Well, there you have it. That's part 1 of this video and all the 3-2-1 votes that happened in both Chris's and Kyle's Minecraft Survivor series. I do love when votes are penultimate and spread out among the cast. It makes the tribal more exciting than just a simple A-B split option. In part 2, I'll go on about all the 3-2-1 votes that happened in the College Survivor series that I have watched. So, Maryland, Michigan, Boston, Syracuse, the lot. Until my next random thought, later guys!